Faye. And thank you to everybody for joining this webinar. I'll let Gary give his own introductions, but my name is Kev Jones, and I'm currently a product owner at Switchplane. Before that, I worked in FE within the innovation companies, basically helping trainers to use vocational learning technology in their studies. So I wanted to start just by sharing this quote that I came across, that in the Chinese language, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger and the other one represents opportunity. So just to get your thoughts, I wanted to start with a very quick poll. I want to ask the question that within the context of vocational, it represents a threat or an opportunity. So you should just see a poll appearing on your screen now. So far we've had votes from about 56%, and interestingly 100% so far see this as an opportunity. So that's really surprising. In fact, that's huge. Okay, we've got 60% of people voting now, and it is still 100%. Oh, okay, it's now 86% opportunity and 14% threat. So I'll give a couple more seconds just to anyone else to share their thoughts. Okay, I'm going to close the poll. So actually, it's 86% opportunity and 14% threat. So I think we may have a pretty optimistic audience with us today. And as a way of discussing and sharing some of your ideas, you can use the questions tab in the GoToMeeting control panel. And if you can just start to post why you feel it's a threat or an opportunity, or if you think it's an opportunity specifically for your needs, what do you see as the most, or as the key opportunity? Okay, so as we said, today is really around using social media and monetizing your business for online learning. But I wanted to start just by thinking about who are your customers now. So given the current state of affairs, it may be that it's opened up a whole new market, a whole new kind of audience potentially for your product could now exist. So as a few examples, in the business to consumer model, there could be a load of people now who are looking to gain new skills. So this could be either to just at the start of their careers to enter the workforce, or maybe to change their careers altogether, given some of the the issues that people have been facing over the last few months. It could be that they're looking to completely reskill, so they're currently in employment, but they have seen the last few months as an opportunity to just want to go and try something entirely new. So these people could be looking to access some of your services, and also to upskill. So they may be within their current employment and now looking to learn, but to learn online. Or within the B2B market, it could be that they need to now considerably retrain their existing staff in new practices, new processes. Or they could have looked at over the last month of the lockdown and thought, maybe we now need to completely change how we do our training. We need to reduce our travel costs, etc. So again, a new push for kind of online delivery that you may be able to offer. And thirdly, they may just come out of this and just think, let's just do things differently. Let's develop entirely new training models rather than everything just being classroom based. So if you considered who potentially you may now be your customers, it's important to now think about what their needs are within the context of this new group. So, for example, those who might be looking to gain new skills or to reskill, they're likely to be able to want to access it any time. They may need online support. They want to think about, how am I going to capture evidence of my learning? What certification is available? And possibly, some skills in terms of employability, understanding the work market. How do I actually get a job? Which employers, can I contact? Or those to upskill, their needs are going to make sure that their current skills are acknowledged, and maybe to understand their price within their sector, access, promotions. And for businesses, if they're thinking about, how do we retrain our current staff, they may look to, say, develop their training in-house. So they may be in the market for, let's say, white labeled learning resources that they can rebrand and serve out themselves. Or perhaps if they're looking to reduce their travel costs, they may be looking at new ways of getting remote delivery for their staff. So when you've identified the needs of your customer, then you really need to think hard about your product. And one of the things that your product could look like, and it could be a mix of all these different technologies. It could be about a blog. It could be some completely self-contained study resource packs, some video tutorials. You could be offering webinars, online tuition, podcasts, or entire self-contained e-learning courses. So all of these tech could make up some of your product mix. But I think the biggest thing to do right now is to really step back and actually define what your vision is. And there's a template that I've used a number of times, which is pretty simple to understand, but can take quite a lot of work to actually get it right. And it looks like this. So you say for, and then you insert your target customer. And if you have a range of target customers, then focus on the one that you're looking to launch to, or your most important customer. And then followed by who, and then you insert their primary need, followed by your product name and the product category. And then you try to put your unique selling point. So what is the most key or compelling reason for them to buy? So I've included a couple of simple examples here. Let's say you're developing packages to the hair and beauty business. Your vision may look like this. So for hair and beauty business owners who need qualified staff, H&B Now, that's my made up product name, is an e-learning package that provides an affordable, accessible solution. So in one sentence, you've articulated exactly what it is that you're offering and why they should come to you. A simpler example could be this, which is for social care workers who need to reskill, then Care Online offers a supportive, self-paced route to employment. So hopefully you can take away that template and start to really think about what your product vision is. I also wanted to share this graphic, which considers your new customer journey online. So if we take a fairly standard path of somebody discovering that you're offering these services, they need to enroll and orientate on the course, then they receive some instruction and gain some new skills, followed by feedback, assessment, and then at the end, ultimately, some recognition and certification. Well, that looks very different in a face-to-face classroom-based setting than it does online. And it may be, if you're just at the start of the the journey of starting to put your online product together, that you don't need to have all of these steps in place right now, but it's actually it's more important that you just focus on the first one to get right and launch that, and test that with your market, rather than delay to try and get every single piece of the puzzle exactly perfect before launching. Okay, so hopefully that's just helped to set the scene. I'm going to come back in a little while after Gary's going to talk about how to use social media to communicate and reach new customers. Over to you, Garry.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Garry James. I am the head of marketing at Switchplane. So to start with, I wanted to kind of talk about what I've been doing over the past month in regards to my job role and things that I've had to change with coronavirus happening. So just 3 little things. To start with, I wrote a marketing strategy for the company last year that was supposed to be implemented this year and didn't happen. One of the reasons why it didn't happen is that we get a lot of new customers and inquiries from large corporate events around the country, and obviously we can't do this anymore, and so we've had to really rip apart this marketing strategy and say, what can we do now? What can we do in the current situation? Secondly, I've been adjusting the kind of overall business goals that the company has, working with the 2 directors to say, are these realistic in the current climate, and can we change them if we don't think they're realistic? And then lastly, I've been looking at how the overall business and what we offer as a service could change based on what people are looking for right now. Is what we offer appealing to the customer, or do we need to adapt and change? So that's the last 3 things I've been doing over the last month. And so in regards to this seminar, I would really like to cut it in 2 parts. The first is how you can communicate with current or prospective customers that you already have. And then the second will look at how to find new customers via social media. And so as Kev kind of said, every business is trying to adapt right now, and most of you, 86% of you, saw right now as an opportunity to adapt. And so I really believe a policy for going forward and how you would communicate with your customers is trying to be as honest as possible. So let's say you've already got customers booked in to participate in an in-person course that you should have been running in June or July. I'd really say the first thing to do, and I know it sounds really simple to start with, but you need to reassure your customers that you are looking to pivot your training to a digital platform, and just not give them an excuse to cancel on you, because that's the easiest thing that they can do right now is cancel, and so you don't want them to do that. I start regularly communicating with your customers and let them know what you're planning. Be upfront with them and try and give them some kind of time frames as well. Kev will cover some suggested platforms that you can look into. But you want to be as upfront and open with them as possible. And I think if you are going to be upfront and open, they will be more inclined to transition to a digital platform with you in the future. And so that's my kind of first little tips about how you could communicate with your current or prospective customers. I would really say use email, because it's the easiest way to reach your customers. Your message may get lost on social media, so you want to email them directly first, and then reinforce that message by posting a summary on social media. And then my last kind of point about communicating with current or prospective customers that you had in the pipeline is how you structure the emails that you send. And so one of my pet peeves that happens in marketing all the time is when a small-ish or a micro company acts like some kind of huge Facebook, Google, IBM corporation. And I think that is a waste of your time to do that. And I think right now, you want to be communicating with your customers, and they want reassurance that you're a human being. Sounds really simple. If I was talking to my customers, I would say, hi, it's Gary, I'm communicating directly with you. And it gives that reassurance that, you know, everyone's in this all together, we're trying to figure it out, and people ultimately like to buy from other humans, not faceless companies. And so, as an example, every time I send a newsletter from Switchplane, I make sure people know it's from the company Switchplane. They know it's got our branding, a colour scheme, or logo, but then they also know it's written by me, a human, just to have that more personal connection with current and prospective customers. So I don't want to go on about that anymore. The next section will really focus on how you can find new customers for your digital training or education once you've confirmed a plan or a model that works for you. I will go through a few techniques with you on how I would on how I would acquire new customers throughout this period with social media. And these techniques can work for a variety of different companies and providers. Although if you are looking for more specific advice about your company, please do reach out via LinkedIn. It'll be on the screen later. And so, you know, covering some social media basics to start with. Just as a heads up, this presentation will focus on Facebook and Instagram. If you could let me know in the questions box what social media platforms you use, and, you know, tell me the most annoying or irritating thing that you find with their platforms that you're saying that you're on, and anything that you would like to know about those platforms, and I'll come back to those questions at the end. One of the most kind of fundamental things that is expected of you if you are, or your company is on a social media platform, is to obviously post regularly. To save time, you can schedule content in advance, and Facebook and Instagram have a really great free tool to do it. So the tool is called Creator Studio. It allows you to schedule both Instagram and Facebook content, and it's owned and being built by Facebook, so it's totally free. They want you to log in, go to the Creator Studio, and schedule content in advance. And this stops the fear of, like, oh God, I've not posted anything on Instagram for a month. What the hell am I going to do now? Kind of recommended amounts of content that you should post for these platforms. If you're using Facebook, the recommended amount of content you should share is around 3 times per week. And if you're using Instagram, the recommended amount of content you should be posting is at least once a day. What lots of people do is they start posting content really enthusiastically. So they'll post on Instagram 3 times a day for a week, and then it'll die. And so what I would recommend is that you have to do something that's sustainable for your company. Can you actively post on Instagram once a day? Can you schedule your posts in advance via Creator Studio? These are all the things that you should be considering when you are on a social media platform as a business. And so, kind of common misconception is Facebook and Instagram are not just for B2C customers. So yes, you probably get a lot of ads on Facebook and Instagram for fashion stores, jewelry stores, food places, but they're also a really successful and useful platform for potentially people like yourselves who are offering B2B type services. And so next, I want to kind of move on to Facebook advertising and why you should be looking at that as a platform. And so Facebook advertising is really the best option when it comes to online advertising, and it's usually the cheapest platform as well. In case you didn't know, Facebook owns Instagram, so any ads that you run on Instagram will go through Facebook's advertising platform. A kind of common misconception is that Facebook will do things for free for you, and that they're a charity, and they're not. They're a business. They make millions or billions of dollars each year. They want to make it easy for you as a business to spend their money with them. So I'm going to go over kind of some little traps that they set for you to easily throw away your money, and how to get the best for the littlest amount as well. So the first thing, I would recommend is really starting with a small budget on Facebook or Instagram and doing a few tests of different advertising campaigns to see what works for your organization. Then when you found something that works, you can increase the budget to get increased results. Just a note on a common question about Facebook's boost button versus Facebook ads. So boosts is a really easy way to get just one post seen by more people. That's all it does. It won't direct traffic to your website, and the targeted options on who you can show that post to are extremely limited. So I would always recommend companies, if they are looking to invest in Facebook or Instagram advertising, do not use the boost button. You get more value for your money with Facebook ads and better targeting for your posts in general. And so I'm going to cover two types of campaigns that you could run on Facebook and Instagram advertising that will gain you new customers. And the first is called retargeting. So I'm going to break it down for you in really simple terms. So let's say, this is a really simple diagram. You have your new customers, your website, and a CTA. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's a call to action. It means getting someone to do something on your website. So let's say you've got new customers and they are actively visiting your website already. This could be from another marketing activity. What a retargeting campaign focuses on is for people who visit your website, but they're not taking that next step of the call to action. So the call to action could be from filling in a contact form to booking a meeting to discuss your services more. And this is where you can step in with Facebook and Instagram retargeting campaign. So you can target people who, they're new customers, they've already visited your website, but they've not done that final step, not done that call to action. And you can target them with an ad saying, come back, visit our website, and book a meeting with me to discuss my services further. It is a tactic used by a range of different businesses, from clothing companies to training coaches, and they use it because it works. I've run multiple different retargeting campaigns for clients, which all deliver results. And specifically, we had a campaign previously with a not related to UFI, but a private hire taxi client, and they started with an initial budget of £500, which was quite high, and we turned it into £15,000 of revenue within the first month for him. So it's just an example of what it looks like. I've got three kind of real examples of different campaigns on the screen. The first on the left is from the University of Edinburgh, and this ad is targeting postgrad students. They were having postgrad students visit the open day for postgrad section on their website, but they weren't taking that final step of booking in to come to the open day. And so they set up this retargeting campaign for people who visited that part of the website but didn't book anything. And with the ad, the university is basically asking the user to come back to the website and check it out again. The second one is a really simple ad. It's just for variation. It's from ASOS. Users have viewed this particular dress on their website, didn't add it to their basket, didn't check out, so they're targeting the users to come back and buy it. Basically, it says you want it, we got it, shop now at asos.com. And then finally, the third one is from Open University. They are targeting people who had looked at the different courses that they offer, but did not take any action of filling anything in or putting in their contact details. So they're targeting people to come back, look at our options again, and take that next step. So that's the first kind of campaign. That's something that you could start to run if you're already getting a healthy amount of people visiting your website. This next campaign is about brand new customers, and it's called lookalike audiences. The lookalike audiences allows you to upload your top customers or current customers' email address, usually, to Facebook and Instagram. And by using their super fancy algorithms, this will match it different data points to find similar customers. So, you know, it'll match based on job, location, sex, interest, loads of different data points. And at the end, it'll spew out a list of kind of, these people are similar. The only way you can reach this audience is obviously if you use Facebook and Instagram ads. They won't give you physically that list of people to contact. You have to do paid advertising with them to get that data and information. And yeah, Facebook and Instagram as a whole, they know so much about their users. And so this is a way of you taking advantage of it and expanding your customer base by not spending a lot of money as well. So just a note on any type of advertising, regardless of the campaign that you choose to run, you must make sure that the content of the ad is really engaging. If your company is the leader in the niche that you provide for, but the content of the ad, be it video or image, is awful, no one's going to click on it. And so you've got to make sure it grabs the audience's attention and entices them to click that link, give them a reason to click that link. And so, you know, just make sure you skip straight to the point, and as you only have a small amount of time to capture people's attention. And then finally, to kind of wrap up my section, these are 2 campaign examples. There's so many options out there that you could consider once you've decided on the online platform that you will be promoting. I can happily answer any questions at the end of this presentation if you pop them in the questions box. And if you do want to reach out privately, my LinkedIn is available and I will get back to you. Now I'll hand over to Kev to chat about the different platforms that you could use and different business models. So thank you very much for listening. Kev, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Gary. That's really useful. So I wanted to now just change gears slightly and actually start to look at various different new business models that could be available to you. And the first one is really targeted at those who potentially used to be just going and maybe freelancing and doing face-to-face online delivery, perhaps just, you know, just by yourself. And you could actually start to offer a pay-as-you-feel model. So pay-as-you-feel is really good just for when you're getting started. You don't know, you haven't got enough data to know what you're actually going to charge or what your customers are likely to spend for your services. So perhaps that you have a blog or you start to create some learning resources. And the way this would look like is you would just put a link at the bottom that says something like, you know, did you find these useful? If so, please support me to build more by donating whatever you feel. Another massive advantage of it is you can start right now. So you could, straight after this webinar, you could create a donation link and start taking payment for any of your services or products that you already have developed. And it's really great for just testing the market. You might find that there's an average price or an average donation that people tend to use. And that's going to give you some better insights into what the value is. And I think also, as opposed to just giving away freebies, it starts to build a perception that your services are valuable. And you may even get a pleasant surprise. People might start to actually donate or give more than you were expecting. So for each of these different models, I'm also going to share a few example platforms, but there's one called Buy Me a Coffee. Again, it's really simple to set up, and you can just have a link at the bottom, which typically, you know, it's a volumes game. So if you've got a large audience and everyone's, or you get a good percentage of people putting in £3, then it can add up. Another is called paypal.me. So you can just create a paypal.me link. Anyone clicking on it goes straight to your PayPal page and can choose an amount to send. And there's another growing platform for payment as payment gateway, which is Stripe. Now, which also handles credit card, debit card transactions, as well as Google Pay, Apple Pay. I'd say on balance, PayPal is probably the preferred, just because of the amount of market penetration they have and how many users they've already got, and people aren't creating new accounts. Okay, so that's a super simple one that you can get started for today, start taking revenue. So the second is a pay-per-view model. So it could be that you already have some handouts, some booklets that you use to maybe print and give to your learners. Could they just be easily packaged up and sold as to organizations to deliver, or to learners direct? It could be with some more work, or stitching together some content and some activities, maybe some video guides, etc. You can create an entire module that fits a particular module for a course, or broadening that even wider, can you wrap up and create an entire course that can be just purchased? And I'll talk about a couple of examples for platforms to do that in a second. Or if it's more synchronous, can you offer a paid webinar or an online workshop to attend? Could be that organizations are looking to roll out their own in-house training, and you can offer some consultation about how to get that set up. Or perhaps as a kind of a hybrid model with asynchronous learning, but you also offer, as part of a paid course, you also offer some office hours, or from 12 to 1 on a Wednesday, where you're available to help support learners in a group setting. So if this model could work for you, there's two kind of strands really. There's using an existing marketplace. The benefits of that are they already have a good reach, and people are going to those marketplaces to search for content. The second is, I knew there would be a doorbell at some point during this presentation. Hopefully the dog will be quiet in a sec. So yeah, a marketplace, you've already benefit from their reach, such as there's Times Education Supplement, where you can post resources and other teachers will download and pay for those. If you've got an entire self-contained course, then a platform such as Udemy allows you to just upload that entire course. Or a third that you may not have come across is called Open Sesame. Now, Open Sesame is used by organizations, so businesses who want to download your entire course but white label it. Perhaps they want to put it on their own internal servers and share it with their staff. So 3 different sub options within the marketplace. Or alternatively, if you just do it yourself, maybe you've already got an existing website and you just need to add a e-commerce platform. So there's things like WooCommerce that will allow you to plug into an existing WordPress site and allow those that shopping basket experience for buying a product. So the third is a subscription model. This could be useful if you are frequently releasing new resources and learners or your customers are signing up a set amount each month to receive those resources. Gives you a much more reliable and predictable cash flow, because you can now just concentrate on growing your subscribers, as opposed to just trying to increase the number of sales. And a lot of the platforms available give you access to all of their contact details, so you can start to engage your audience through newsletters, etc. And you can also provide membership tiers, so maybe bronze, silver, gold, and provide different levels of content based on their membership package that your customers have signed up to. So in terms of platforms, MemberPress is one that is designed to as a plugin to WordPress. Patreon, relative newcomer, where you can go onto Patreon, you can define those membership levels, and then the way it works is Patreon will take a cut if every time you get a new subscriber, a few percent will go to Patreon. Or there's also Podia, so there's slightly different business model there, where you get everything that you keep from your subscribers, but there's a monthly fee. So it depends on what your audience is in terms of size, whether you might decide to go down which road. So a fourth potential avenue for bringing in revenue could be to look at either sponsorship or partnership. So if you've got, if you're building on quite a strong base in terms of audience, then going and speaking to product suppliers or trade bodies, anyone who's got a vested interest in securing the kind of talent pipeline of a particular industry, maybe wishing to either support you either directly in terms of cash, or they may be looking for some, good news stories to share through their existing kind of readers, and promoting your launch or your new service could be something that gives you some, some extra good positive PR and marketing. I think with things like affiliate marketing, as long as you're upfront about, let's say, clicking on any of these links helps me to continue to provide these services, then there's services like, the Amazon affiliate partnership, and you can basically just get some, you get a commission on any time somebody buys a product linked from your site on another platform. So you could look at actual brands. I know from my days in college, in our hair and beauty department, we used to get a free kit from a local beauty provider. Similarly, it could be local suppliers or service providers want to help you to launch your business in terms of training, with a hope that down the line your learners then use those service providers. And finally, as I say, there's lots of businesses and sector support groups who are, their whole raison d'etre is to support, that sector. So if you're doing something in that area, they may be willing to help. And then finally, funding opportunities. So you're obviously all aware of UFI's work in this area. But I strongly encourage you to explore the website to look at future funding opportunities, of whether that's a good fit. But I would say that my advice would be, firstly, to make sure you've really identified a clear and specific need for your learners, and then to look at opportunities that may fit, rather than the other way around. Don't read a grant and think, how could I shoehorn my idea into fitting with the requirements? And then really start to build up some evidence and some case studies, so that you can actually go to a body and say, look, we've tried it and it works, and now I need support to help me to grow and increase my reach and impact. So there's a lot of government schemes available now for small medium businesses. I would look at grants as well, or if there's none of the above, then a third option could be to look at a crowdfunding campaign. So something like Indiegogo allows you to define what you're going to do, define how much you're looking you need to make it reality, and if you've got enough of a demand, then, and those are willing to help pay, then you could create the funding that way. So I think my key takeaway points from for this, firstly, would be to start now. Don't wait to launch and that you've got everything perfect. As soon as you can get out to market, you can start to get feedback from your users. You can start to see what works and what doesn't work. You won't be able to get that feedback if you just keep holding off on your launch date for your online, online training. I think it's critical that you understand your customers' needs so that your product then fits those needs. Think about how you can reach those customers. Where do they hang out? Are they Facebook users, or are they LinkedIn users? Are they on Twitter? And there, drive your your social media campaign around that. And then finally, I think choose the best model that works now, but don't be afraid to just test out new business models and new platforms. None of the platforms that I shared today really have a big lock-in to them. So if it doesn't work, or it just works for the next 3 months and helps you get over the first few hurdles, then it's fine to take it to change up to the next level. And I put it on here twice because I think the main thing to do is to just start. So that's it from me and Garry for this part of the webinar. If there's any questions, then you can share those within the questions area. And I think that Sarah is going to either collate or input now to bring some of those questions over. Sarah?
Hi, Kev. Thanks for that. Hi, Garry. All very useful and interesting. I certainly have got a couple of questions, but in the meantime, what I'd like to do is just take a couple of points from Joe. And Joe said the reason the opportunity he sees is to review the business markets and practices, and to ditch the slow payers and to look for higher income opportunities, which is, a great attitude. And what he's particularly interested in is, what he says is, in comparison with physical face-to-face training on a customer's site, what would you say would be the relative cost ballpark of the same training remotely online? So Joe, that's about how do you work out what somebody's going to be willing to pay doing something digitally as opposed to physically face-to-face. Kev, Garry, what would you say the approach should be?
Okay, so when you're talking about the cost, the cost is from both sides for a start. So obviously the cost of you delivering is likely to be lower. So I think that should be factored in. I think from the value perspective from the client, firstly to think about how much or how significantly is, by doing it online, is it reduced in terms of the overall quality. So if it was something that in the past had relied heavily on practical demonstrations or hands-on, and that was all now going to be removed, I think that the relative difference would be much more significant. I think if it was something that was more, let's say, academic in nature and Q&A, and actually just doing this remotely didn't really have much of an impact, then I think it would be significantly smaller. In fact, it might not even change in terms of the actual price that you were to charge a customer, because it could be more convenient for them as well, just being able to just attend for an hour. So I think it really depends on, from the customer's perspective, what is the in tangible terms, how much are they getting less from being offered this online. And I'd also say to look around and do some market research as well to find out what they are, the competitors are charging for something similar.
Yeah, just to add to that, if you are offering like an online course, for example, the biggest upfront cost is the time needed to invest in creating all the materials. So I would be not cautious of that, but be aware of if you're offering a fully fledged course up front and wanting people to just pay for it once and have no interaction with you, then that time is going to be the biggest factor in regards to cost. And also, it's the fact that you can learn really anything online for free. That's just what happens. You can go to YouTube or any other platforms and learn a lot of things for free or cheap. And so it's about offering something else. Are you offering personalization to that person? Then that's a premium service that they would pay for. And so it's looking, taking your in-person classes and then saying, how can I replicate this online to the best of my ability and what other platforms offer? And then you wouldn't really have to cut any costs in regards to what you charge.
Thank you, Gary. I'm sorry, Joe, you've got a very comprehensive answer to this, because I'm just going to add my own tuppence worth in this as well, which is to say that what I would be talking to the customer about is not simply replicating what I would have done had I come in for a day or half a day to run a face-to-face course, but look at how I could break that down to do something that really worked for the customer, maybe doing it in separate episodes, maybe combining that with a bit of consultancy, a bit of Q&A, absolutely personalizing it. Because Gary's right, there is a section who will devalue online learning by saying, oh bosh, you go to on YouTube and learn anything. But that's not the point here. What you're doing is bringing your expertise and tailoring what you're doing to your particular audience, really showing how you add value. And we've got Joe's just responded to this, so we might as well continue this theme. Joe's saying, in lockdown, we are being asked to provide 2 days training on site across 2 weeks of online bite-sized training. This is actually coming in more expensive than face-to-face. Well, yes, possibly it might well be, because you're providing a lot more.
Yeah.
We moved back to
one comment I would make on that is that one of the benefits, of course, of online learning is that once it's developed apart from some maintenance, it can then be distributed at incredibly little cost. There's no real scaling and variable cost for future delivery, as opposed to face-to-face. Once you've done a face-to-face course, it will cost you exactly the same amount next time in terms of time. So I would factor in to the pricing if you're developing some online learning for this particular client, as long as you retain the intellectual property for those, that is something that you can then resell on to other customers.
Absolutely, yes. And so you could combine using and reusing the assets that you make, whether it's video or some other types of online learning, with some live sessions like a webinar. Okay, and this is really a question for Gary, and Martin asks, what would be a sensible figure to start an advertising campaign on Facebook?
I would say £50 to £100 as a trial, and to monitor the results daily and run it for a 2-week period.
Okay.
That's a nice specific answer, Gary.
Yes, thank you. While we wait for a few more questions or comments, I've got something I'd like to ask. And again, this is kind of well, it could be for either of you, that you talked a lot about using Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
Can you comment on whether or when you should use other social media platforms such as Twitter or LinkedIn?
As Kev kind of touched on at the start, it's about defining where who your audience are, and then thinking about what social media platform they could be on. The reason I covered Facebook and Instagram is because it covers such a wide variety of audience types. There is obviously other social networks out there, like, you know, LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is harder in many ways to get more instant results. It's hard graft, and it's about, you know, building long connections with people. You're going to achieve nothing if you go straight in and just say, you know, spam people via email and say buy my stuff, because that's not how it works. And then a little bit on LinkedIn advertising, it's particularly more expensive than Facebook and Instagram. And so for something that might cost £1 or £2 for a click or a lead to your website on Facebook and Instagram could cost anything between £10 to £15 on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thank you. There's another question again about potential platforms, which is, how do you feel about YouTube? Well, I think there's two questions here, really. One is using YouTube as a training aid for B2B, and secondly, using YouTube as just in general as a means of promoting your business.
So I'll kind of cover YouTube in general. So YouTube is amazing for posting kind of lead generating content. So you don't want to post everything on there. You can post everything on there and rely on YouTube advertising to make money from it, but the amount of people watching might be quite low, so you're not going to get that much in return from just relying on YouTube advertising. YouTube is owned by Google, so any results that anything that people are searching for and it's relevant to the video that you've uploaded or the title of the video that you've uploaded will pull into a Google search. So it's really good for overall kind of new customers stumbling across you. And so if you are suggesting YouTube, I would post maybe one part of your content, but don't give everything away for free, and have links in your YouTube videos for to a full kind of like subscribe for the full course or something like that.
Yeah, and I think I'd just add to that. I mean, you've also got a couple of options. So you can post training videos as a self-contained upload, like an MP4 video to YouTube. You can also do a go live event as well. And the second could be useful for getting you know, new customers to subscribe, to say, yeah, I'm attending this event. And when they hit subscribe to that channel, you're now starting to build up you know, a kind of a contact group that you can then announce, you know, new services, special offers, you know, special courses, etc. So I think that definitely, you know, a video platform should definitely be considered as part of the mix, and YouTube's pretty much the best out there for reach.
Just a little note on.
Could you just explain what a go live event is?
Yeah, so a go live event is that it's scheduled in advance, and at that particular time, you know, everyone who is watching and tuned in at that moment will then just see your webcam. You don't see them, so it's not like a webinar. You're now just effectively live streaming your webinar. So a good example is that's what Joe Wicks is using every 9 o'clock for his PE classes right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Has anybody else got any further questions or comments for Kev or for Garry? If so, can we please put them in the question box? No. Okay, let's give people a couple of minutes. Do that. No, I think that's. Oh, we had a nice comment from Martin saying, very good, thank you. Excellent. and a nice one from Joe. Thank you, Joe. So it looks like we've kind of run out of questions. So what I'd like to do on everybody's behalf is, first of all, say thank you to Kev and thank you to Garry for a really useful webinar. What we will do is we will put the recording of this webinar on the UFI website, and Garry and Kev have also prepared a really nice resource pack for you with a load of links which you can download and access a lot of the content that they've been talking about in this webinar. There will be, oops, hang on. There will be other webinars coming up in this series. Next week, we're doing a repeat of the webinar with Mark Bartholomew on how to take your training online, which was a very, very popular initial beginner's guide. We had so many questions last time we ran this, we couldn't answer them all. So we're asking people to post their questions in advance. And then the following week, we've got a session with Brian Mathers, who's looking at how to use visuals in your online learning, which I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, right, I'm going to say thanks, Kev, thanks, Garry. Thanks very much for running this. Thank you all for attending. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.